Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Now we start with former Vice President Dr. Bawumia and his meeting with over 200 former metropolitan municipal and district chief executives of the New Patriotic Party at Alisa Hotel in Accra. Well, this meeting comes amid the heated race to lead the opposition party with the flag bearership election scheduled for January 31, 2026. Well, Dr. Bawumia meeting with the former MMDCEs follows his recent engagement with over 60 NPP members of Parliament who have declared their support for his anticipated bid. Well, the former Vice President is widely expected to contest the flag bearership position, and this show of support from key party stakeholders suggests he remains a strong contender. Well, my colleague Kenneth Jesse just returned from that meeting. He joins me in the studio with more on this. Kenneth, let's start with the individuals who were at this meeting.
Well, these individuals are former MMDCEs, as you rightly mentioned. They gave their figure as exactly 220. And these are former, government officials who met the former vice president at Alisa Hotel this afternoon. Well, they were engaged in a closed-door meeting for more than an hour, where the vice president was selling his message to them. Essentially, he was telling them why he thinks that he's the best person to lead the party again into the 2028 elections. You recall that over the weekend, about a similar number also met Dr. Bawumia's main contender, Japon. But these people, I asked them if they were the same people that met Japon. They said yes, but because they are former MMDCEs, if they are invited by any opponent, if they're invited by any flag bearer hopeful to meet them, they are going to meet the person.
So it cannot be said that they're rallying their support behind Dr. Bawumia. This is just a meet and greet.
Indeed, they have said that they are rallying their support behind Dr. Bawumia. I asked them, because there was a bit of confusion as to you people met Japon over the weekend and you met this one too, and they said because they are former MMDCs, if anyone within the party invites them, they're going to come. But unlike the Japon meeting, with this one, they said that they had a statement. They actually read a statement to the effect that they are throwing their support behind Dr. Bawumia because they believe that he's the right person to lead the party. And their argument basically is that if you look at the voting trend, the election trend of presidential candidates in this country, they say that they spoke about Atamils, Akufo-Addo, former President Kufuor. They say they all failed at their first attempt, and according to them, Bawumia is the most marketable candidate within the New Patriotic Party as things stand now, and that is why they are throwing their support behind him. And of course, I also saw other state ministers. I saw Titus Kwate Glover, who's a former Greater Accra Regional Minister, and other familiar faces as well. So I spoke to some former MMDCs. I spoke to Titus Kwate Glover and a few NPP supporters. This is what they said.
Honorable Canada Japon invited all MMDCEs. I was there myself, but we did not throw support. His assertion that over 250 came to endorse him is false. Today, Chief, you have asked a question. Today, we are reading a statement on behalf of all of us. There was no statement read at Japon's meeting with us. He spoke, we wined, we dined, and we left. Today we are showing our support with a statement. Thank you.
We have seen that in the history of MPP, no presidential candidate has ever come and won in the first trials. We see the former President J. Kufuor. Former President J. Kufuor came with his first trial. Yes, so we are looking at the trend of events of our party. Okay, we said we are looking at the trend of events of our party. You see, former J. Kufuor contested in 1996 and lost to J.J. Rawlings. Then he came back, we presented him again in 2000, and he won. Former President Kufuor came with 38%, but he was able to defeat the former Vice President Atamils in 2000 to win election for the New Patriotic Party. His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo also came and contested 3 times before the people of Ghana gave him the mandate to become the president of the country. Now, we know His Excellency Alhaji Dr. Bawumia has been marketed very well before in the country. Every corner, every nook and cranny of this country, you can find Dr. Bawumia there. And we think that the first attempt that he went and he did not make it, the second attempt will be a very good one.
As you can see, the whole place, the enthusiasm is very strong. And we actually honored an invitation extended to us by former Vice President and the former flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party in the 2024 elections. We came and listened to him just as we listened to Honorable Kennedy Japon, Honorable Brian, and many others. And we have come to a conclusion that, look, as a party, we don't bother ourselves with the people we like. We are now looking for a candidate who has national appeal and can appeal to the ordinary voter. That's all that we need. And secondly, we have to leverage on the investment that we have done already. As an opposition party, we have invested so much in Dr. Bawumia. Every corner of this country, his posters, his t-shirts are there. As a political party, we think that we need to leverage on that investment.
Bawumia is the only person who has been the flag bearer as we speak. He was our candidate before, and you know Ghana, our history. It happens, somebody go once, two, the third one, he wins. But I know Bawumia can win the second one for us. But we are just started. And because we are just started, I don't want to pre-elect somebody as we speak. I'm part of the government appointees. And by so doing, we have some training that when it happens, you have to take your time and choose the right candidate. So as we are here now, today we have heard from Dr. Bawumia. He has told us his vision for the next election. And by so doing, I don't have doubts about him that he can lead the party for the second time.
As you sit back and watch his delivery, the issue about political consistency is very key. Nobody goes to election in Ghana for the first time and wins.
Your mama won in 2012.
Fine, because there was that sympathy. Unfortunately, we lost the president at the time, so that sympathy was there. But when he met Akufo-Addo in 2016, you saw what happened. Close to 1 million votes. And regardless of all that he did, nobody believed that he can come back and come and win in 2024. So clearly, it tells us that the repetition of a candidate is always important in the political elections. In this election that we are going, all the NPP aspirants who are coming up, they are good. But we need to have somebody who's always ahead of them. That is easy to market. In political marketing, you look at the product that you market and it can easily be sold. So that is the essence of this meeting.
Pick the Ghanaian constitution, read it, and you see that nobody is deceiving you. This is the time of Dr. Bawumia. We are not going to disrespect anybody. We are not going to run down anybody. It is a contest of ideas. And as a vice president, what he did was to put himself available to test, to demonstrate that as a servant, he can serve. And then he demonstrated over 37 different policies that are still working. The current government is also benefiting, Ghanaians are benefiting from it. So as this candidate, let's give him the chance. He is the next president.
Some of the delegates, are they delegates? That's a question we'll be having. And how influential is this endorsement? But Ken, you've also been engaged in Dr. Bawumia. I'm sure he's excited.
Of course, he is excited. And I mean, politics is about numbers. So if you have a large number of people, no mere, former MMDCEs, declaring openly that they support you, that should be a bit of excitement. I'm picking from the Bawumia camp that he's also planning on meeting former MPs. Although I quizzed him on that question, but he did not answer me. But a close source has told me that that's the likely next group of persons that he is going to meet. So after the meeting, I asked him what the meeting was about, and then he said that it was really to sell his ideas to the party former metropolitan chief executives as to why he thinks that he's the best candidate. And of course, I mean, he also mentioned that he believes that he's the one that's going to be elected in 2028 if he's elected by the party next year. And also mentioned that President John Mahama is essentially going to hand over power to him. So I spoke to him after the closed-door meeting.
Today you've had approximately 220 MMDCEs have a closed-door meeting with you. And what was the meeting about?
Well, the meeting was just to appraise them of where I am and then to thank them, most importantly, for their efforts in the 2024 election, and to also ask for their support of me going forward. So that was basically, in a nutshell, what we came to do. Thank you.
Do you have some next set of people, maybe former MPs that you're trying to meet?
We'll see how it goes. We'll take it one step at a time.
So this meeting was fruitful?
Extremely fruitful. Very, very much so. Thank you very much.
Interesting times ahead, Ken. And so for individuals you engage, they're optimistic that he's the man for the job.
Yes, indeed. They've been mentioning the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, they believe that if the trend of first-time candidates failing at the first time and subsequently, being elected is anything to go by, then they think that Dr. Bawumia is the right person, because these individuals, these former MMDCEs, tell me that they've already had engagement with former Asin Central MP, Kennedy Japon. They've also had a meeting with Abetifi MP, Brian Champon, and they've had a meeting with Dr. Bawumia. And of all the things that they've heard from old candidates, they have seen, they've realized that Dr. Bawumia stands tall amongst all of them. And in fact, one critical thing is that they came with a prepared speech of endorsement. That's something that they tell me they didn't do when they went to the other two candidates. So really, they've made up their minds that Dr. Bawumia is the right person, is the right candidate that should lead them. They mentioned the fact that the MPP essentially decided not to vote. About 2 million MPP supporters decided not to vote. And their task now is to get those 2 million people and more, because by 2028, we will have more people being eligible to vote, to get these people to vote for Dr. Bawumia. That is, if he is victorious in the 2026 presidential primaries of the New Patriotic Party. And in the auditorium, they were singing, they chanting, saying that Bawumia be about to wait. Bawumia will come, whether rain or shine. So basically, they've made up their mind that Dr. Bawumia is the right candidate to lead the New Patriotic Party, and they believe that Dr. Bawumia is also the right person to be able to wrestle power from the National Democratic Congress come 2028.
Thank you, Kenneth. On the ground, just giving us updates of that meeting with MMDCEs. Now, let me bring in the former MC for Adenta, Ebenezer Doku, who read that statement on behalf of the over 200 MMDCEs who are rallying their support behind Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We appreciate your time here on the pulse. I'd like to first start by getting clarity. Why exactly are you rallying your support behind Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia?
Good afternoon to all your listeners. Like we have said, it is our belief that amongst all the presidential candidates we have listened to, we think that Dr. Bawumia stands tall. He's been our candidate before. He's gone around this country, and any of the aspirants we have coming around, we believe that he's been marketed. And so we will need a lesser amount of effort to sell him than any of the candidates we are having. Having said that, we believe that they are all men of substance. But we believe that Dr. Bawumia stands tall.
And then I just want to get clarity. Are you all delegates? What would be the impact of your support?
We MMDCs have been representatives of the president in our various districts and municipalities. And so, at least, we have some influence in the constituencies we represent. And let me also add that about 95% of MMDCs have either been constituency executives or regional executives of our party. And and you don't downplay the influence we have in our various constituencies.
So you have influence, but you're not delegates.
We are not delegates, but we believe that the 19th of July, when we have our conference at the Legon Stadium, legitimacy would be approved.
And then that's why I'm really asking this, because the delegates will have a say as to who lead the party. And so we're just trying to quantify the influence of your support. And that's why I'm asking that question. But you feel Bawumia is the man for the job. You have engaged other individuals who are also vying for the same position. For example, Kennedy Japon. You don't think he's fit for the job?
We believe that Dr. Bawumia stands tall. I mean, Kennedy Japon would be a good president. Dr. Champong, a fantastic young man. I heard him speak yesterday in the morning, and I believe that, yes, he's a good man, but Dr. Bawumia, it is time for Dr. Bawumia to lead us into the of 2028. Mind you, the NDC will be having a best candidate. And so once that is the case, we will need a field that has been there before and marketed before. And that gives the MPP an advantage over the NDC in the next election.
How do you plan to turn the fortunes of Bawumia around, especially looking at his performance in the previous polls? Why do you think this time will be different?
You remember, our party was seen as a party of arrogant men and women. You remember, our party members were disillusioned because of one reason or the other. Now, things are changing. Our people believe that, yes, even though we were angry and we didn't vote, we've seen what the NDC are doing, and we believe that the NPP will be better in government than what the NDC are doing. And so we believe that we can cover based on our party to vote for us in 2028 with Dr. Bawumia.
Stay with me, Mr. Ebenezer Doku. Let me come in the studio and bring in my guest. Kwesi Botre, you speak for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And so we just want to get a sense of what this means for your candidates and his position that he's hoping to secure in the coming election. 200 MMDCEs rallying behind your candidates. What's your thoughts?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to the Honorable for Adenta constituency. But he led the charge today to read the press on behalf of his colleagues, over 220 former MMDCs, endorsing the candidature of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia doesn't take this gesture lightly. He appreciates the support and also acknowledges the tax that has been espoused upon him, and he's very grateful to the former MMDCs. But, I mean, this MPP is gearing towards an internal context, and the MMDCs play a critical role when it comes to the architecture of the government or, you know, the constituency politics, because all these former MMDCs really were the arrowheads of the grassroots politics, because if you go to the grassroots, you go to the constituency, the district level, these persons were the representative of the government or the president at their various districts. And so their influence, their impact in the constituency and their effect in the various districts and constituencies can never be underestimated. And so it is good they have endorsed Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is grateful to them, and that is the right thing they've done. The NPP people, the Ghanaian people are happy with their gesture today. And it is only a task for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to ensure that he delivers the victory for these MMDCs. And in fact, it is important to add that these MMDCs only did not endorse Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. They have undertaken to mobilize resources. They have undertaken to activate their networks. They have undertaken to engage their fan bases, engage their people.
But these MMDCs are not delegates. So what's the impact really they have apart from influence?
These are the former representatives of the president in their various localities. Just like the members of parliament have influences, they also have influence. You don't necessarily need to be a delegate to have influence within, your juridical area or where you operate. But the whole point is, there's a proposal currently before the national conference to adopt for these MMDCs to be delegates. And so I am optimistic and hopeful that on the 19th of July, when the party, conferences at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium, there's going to be a unanimous resolution. Like there was a unanimous resolution at the National Council held sometime last week for these MMDCEs to be, delegates and be part of the Electoral College to elect our flag bearer. And so I'm very optimistic and confident that these MMDCEs, latest by 20th of July this month, next month, are going to be delegates. And for that matter, they would be able to cast their ballot. But notwithstanding that, they are still influential in their constituencies. They are still influential in their various districts. And so we appreciate their gesture. And in fact, today I was even lost of words. I was very excited to see, the former MD enthusiasm, the energy they used to receive Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. It was an interesting, event.
But you agree with me that enthusiasm is not enough to win elections. Your candidates have two hurdles to cross. First of all, the internal election, where he's going against a formidable candidate like Kennedy Japon. Brian Champon has just served notice that he has received report from the committee he set up that indeed the ground is fertile for him to run the race. How would you cross that hurdle, even before convincing Ghanaians that he's the man for the job?
Yeah. In fact, all these persons you've mentioned, Dr. Brian Champon, the Member of Parliament for Abetifi, is a formidable person. I respect him a lot. I have a lot of respect for him. The former Member of Parliament for Ascent Central, the respected Honorable Kennedy Japon, have a lot of respect for him. But if you listen to the MMDCs, they talk about who has the track record. They talk about who has the market value. They talk about who has been most marketed. They talk about who has the ability to bring the party together, who has the characteristics the party people are looking for. And they clearly see that in Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I agree Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has suffered an humiliating, and the NPP suffered an humiliating defeat in the 2024 polls. But that was not an unprecedented defeat. That is not something we've not seen before in our political history. You go to 1996, President Kufuor lost with just about 39%. And in 2024, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia lost with about 41.7%, approximately 42%. President Kufuor, despite losing with 39% in 1996, came back in the party we introduced him as a candidate in 2000 and won the 2000 elections. President Mills lost in 2004 after contesting President Kufuor. He came back again in 2008 to win the elections. Candidate Nana Akufo-Addo, as he then was in 2008, lost in 2012, came back to win in 2016 after he was reintroduced by the New Patriotic Party. President Mahama lost in 2016, lost in 2020, came back again to win in 2024. And that is political consistency. So political consistency is not something we can underestimate. The value of political consistency is very important. And that is what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is clearly preaching, that he has lost in 2024. That does not mean he cannot come back to win the 2024 elections.
But how do you plan to disassociate him from the failures of the previous government, which he was the vice president?
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has said times without number that he would not disassociate himself from the failures of the SWAL administration, because he was the vice president of the SWAL administration. He has admitted that there are certain things the SWAL administration got wrong. In fact, the Okwe report, everybody admits that.
He also admitted that he was just a mate.
Oh, we'll come to that conversation.
Okay.
But he has admitted that we didn't get everything right, and that is why the good people of this country showed us the exit. But you see, the point is that even the respected Honorable Kennedy Japon has acknowledged sometime in 2022 that the NPP lost the elections as far back in 2022. In 2022, the respected Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was not the candidate for the New Patriotic Party. But it's clear, everybody knows the reasons why we lost the 2024 elections. And so far, I have not heard any reasonable analysis from anybody to say that, or to conclude that, or to make the analysis that we lost the 2024 elections because Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was a bad candidate, or because Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was not fit for purpose. I have not heard anybody make such a sound analysis about Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. There are so many factors for which the NPP or Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia lost the 2024 elections. But clearly his candidature was not part of the reasons why we lost the 2024 elections. And Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the candidate, even the only candidate in this NPP internal elections, who has been part of 5 consecutive presidential elections in this country. He was part of the 2028 elections as a vice presidential candidate to candidate Akufo-Addo 2012, as a vice presidential candidate to Akufo-Addo 2016, 2020, and himself as a flag bearer for the 2024 elections. And so you go to the rank and file of, our party, roam around this country from Axim to Bimbila to wherever you go, you realize that every person, every single Ghanaian person knows Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and that is his market value. That is what he brings on board. You take the fact that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the most formidable candidate amongst all these persons. He has the domestic appeal and the international appeal worldwide. Everybody appreciates and acknowledges the fact that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is an intelligent and articulate and courageous a person. In fact, today he mentioned that he may not be a billionaire or he may not be a rich man, but when it comes to ideas, when it comes to critical thinking, when it comes to problem solving, he is the man to do that for the New Patriotic Party and to lead this country. And so Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia clearly ticks all the boxes.
Does he tick all the boxes? That's a conversation I'll come back to the studio to have. But you said that the delegates are on your side, as well as the MMDCEs. Let me bring in someone who feels otherwise. Kwesi Kwarteng is one of the key spokespersons for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for Kennedy Japon's camp. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. We've just been hearing from over 200 MMDCEs rally their support behind Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. This same MMDCEs that your candidate met not too long ago. How does this make you feel? Oh yeah, we seem to have been losing connection to Kwesi Kwarteng. We're just getting his thoughts on this, Kennedy Japon's camp and their thoughts about this massive support for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Just get his thoughts. You said that the delegates chose you because you have the track record. And I was bringing in Kwesi Kwarteng because he feels that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia doesn't have the track record to win the upcoming race for the NPP. And that's a conversation we'd like to have with him when we reconnect the lines, just to get his thoughts on that. We've also been speaking to Ebenezer Doku, he's MC for Adenta, and he read that statement on behalf of the MMDCEs who are rallying behind Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I have better connection now to Kwesi Kwarteng. Kwesi, we appreciate your time here on The Pulse. We've just been hearing from Kwesi Botre defend the reason why the MMDCEs, over 200 of them, are rallying their support behind Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He says that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has the track record. You feel otherwise. What's your thoughts?
Well, let me say that it is good for them. We wish them well. If indeed they believe they have over 200 MMDCs, I'm sure the election day will prove or will vindicate that position. I mean, sometimes let's give time some time. And I always say that if there is any test that has been proven to be more efficient and most reliable, the test of time. Maybe. I mean, it's difficult, but let me state emphatically that this may be the last that the Team Kennedy Japan may be recording some of these sponsored, rehearsed, and staged endorsements. If you recall, it was similar that was said during the last, and that I don't know whether directly or indirectly convinced policy executives into voting for Dr. Mahmoud. And we also the outcome of the election. The worst performance that was in the history of the Fourth Republic, where about 189 constituencies all rejected with a rejection rate of about 2.2%. I thought it was a very good lesson for us, so that we would have, at least as candidates or hopeful as you go down, talk to engage the people. But it looks like it's been the same old tricks, the same old strategy. Get people, make it appear as though the big guys, the influencers are supporting you, and maybe you have your way. But this time around, our focus is also on the base. Our focus is to engage with over 200,000 polling station executives, and we are confident that sovereignty resides in them, and they will make a determination on who they believe the party, who they believe should lead the party. But I know one thing for sure, that this time around, they will not make a decision and elect a candidate that is not marketable, and elect a candidate that is not winnable, elect a candidate that is is unable to unite the party, I know that this time around they will not make that decision. So it is left for them to pride themselves that they've been endorsed by these MMDCEs. It's good for them. But if you recall, for purpose of information, if you recall, when the MMDCEs also went to Honorable by Champo's place, I'm sure you all saw the chorus and the song also endorsing him. Same was also done at the Honorable Ken's place. They were singing Ken Beba, and Ken Beba also singing for Brian Beba. And so if these people were just want to, I think the only difference is that the Bawumia has coordinated this endorsement well, because maybe they are so intentional about it. Other than that, I don't see much difference or any so much of a big deal, because I don't know whether it was their leaders that granted the interview. Of course, I mean, you may be able to give clarity to that, and Kwesi is also in the studio. He may be able to give clarity to that. But if at the end of the day you go and organize about 20, 30 people within a group and make them paint a picture as though it's represented the entire group, especially when you may even have people within the same group subsequently coming out to offer a different position, may even be embarrassing to that team. For me, I think the advice that I'll give to the candidate, the Dr. Bawumia side, is that we should focus on the grounds. Let's go on grounds. Let's talk to the party people. Let's organize the base. Let's rebuild. Let's restructure, and all prepare ourselves for 2020. But this whole rehearse, concert, stage, endorsement, just to peddle influence, I don't think is proper. Especially when this team has also suffered the worst breakaway in history. Question should be speaking to where Nana Akufo-Addo is now. Nana Akufo-Addo, who brought Dr. Bawumia, today is not supporting him. Dr. Japon, who blocked the whole Eastern region block for him, today is not supporting him, to the extent that he doesn't even believe in his agenda again. He's contesting against him. Where is my own former boss, Dr. Duchum? Today he's also contested the same Dr. Bawumia that he's contested. We have also heard of that of Mr. Japon and Patrick Buama, who were all supporting Dr. Bawumia. Why have all of them also changed their stance? So I mean, they all, in principle, believe that it is not marketable. But I understand them. If you find yourself in such a difficult situation, the only remedy is that you have to organize people, paint a picture as though, despite the massive breakaways, you are so strong. And I'm sure that is what they are doing. So it's a political strategy, really. But like I indicated, if there is any litmus that has been proven to be most efficient and most consistent, is the litmus and the test of time. And we'll leave it with time. I'm sure the difference will come, and we'll see whether these endorsements were valid or not. Just like they had other endorsement that led us into the humiliating defeat with over 1.7 million difference, and more critically, when 2.1 million of our members even refused to come and vote.
Kennedy, Japon for the first time over the weekend spoke about the party's decision to actually organize the flag bearership race even before the election of different national executives. And he raised concerns about it. It was the first time he spoke about it when he met with TestCon KSTU individuals, where he raised concerns about it. Now, as a camp, how would you plan to turn the fortunes around to favor your candidate?
Well, let me state clearly that we will not shy away even from any date. We are ready for the elections today, tomorrow, and any other day. Indeed, the election can even be organized in our opponent's camp. We are not so afraid. We'll go, and we are so much confident that the over 200,000 police station executives who are ready and eager for change will not attend either. Because at the end of the day, our party who can win power for the party. It has demonstrated without time that history of since 1992 till today, in terms of phenomenal figures, Dr. Bawumia has had great performance, and they are thinking as to the approaches where we had a concern. Because we are believe that when we are mobilizing a party, when we are restructuring a party, when we are rebuilding a party, common sense and reasonability and basic logic should tell you that the proper way of such restructuring should have been from the base. But I mean, at the end of the day, whether or not the theory of scheming for one person is true, people and leadership believe that they should start from the top. But I mean, we will not run away from that. We are playing a majority game where, at the end of the day, the majority makes a decision. A lot of few elite in Accra who believe that to them the best way and the most logical and sensible way of of building a structure is to start from the roof. But I mean, at the end of the day, we made our point just like in any democratic dispensation where you also have to make your views be heard. But we are ready even if they want to have the elections tomorrow because we are confident in our candidature, we are confident in our message, and we believe that the ground is more fertile for change.
And you're doing the groundwork. What group would you be meeting next?
I mean, at the end of the day, our focus is on the polling station executive.
Okay.
That's over 208,000. That's all our focus is on. Well, our focus is so much on them. But of course, we also give so much respect and recognition to all level of executives, being national, regional, constituency, electoral area. But I mean, our focus so much is where the sovereignty resides, which is the people at the base.
Kwesi, stay with me. I'll come to you for your final reaction. But I still will have with me the former MC for Adentan, Ebenezer Doku. And I would like to go to him just to get his thoughts about it because Kwesi has just said that this is sponsored, this is rehearsed. I'll come to you, Ebenezer Doku, for your reaction to that. But let me come to you, Kwesi Botre. Is this sponsored and rehearsed?
See, it is very unfortunate for Kwesi Kwarteng to use those words because, respectfully and humbly, I think Kwesi Kwarteng has been unfair to these former MMDCs because these are persons who have a mind of their own. So to say somebody has coerced them or, gotten them to rehearse, to endorse him, it's quite unfortunate for Kwesi Kwarteng. And it clearly demonstrates that he has not read or listened to the press statement read by the Honorable former MC for Adenta. And I am very happy that the former MC for Adenta is on the call because he clearly mentioned that they have engaged the respected Honorable candidate Japon, engaged the respected Brian Echampo, and they are clear in their mind and firm in their conviction after listening to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia that he's the man for the job, and he's the man for the people, and he's the man with the people. And so for Kwesi Kwarteng to come to the conclusion and to give such an erratic response that these persons have been coerced or the endorsement is choreographed is entirely unfortunate, and I feel Kwesi Kwarteng should apologize to the former MMDCs. And again, Kwesi Kwarteng mentions that.
So you didn't pay them?
And again
because he says it's sponsored.
I mean, it's an unwarranted.
You didn't pay them?
It's an unwarranted. We didn't pay anybody to read any statement. If Kwesi Kwarteng is a lawyer, if he has any evidence to the contrary that somebody has been paid to make any endorsement or whatsoever, he should bring that evidence out. And it is even unfortunate for him to make such an assertion that somebody has been paid or somebody has been coerced or, rehearsed to endorse Dr. Mahmoud. It is very unfortunate. And again, let me say emphatically that the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign will not take campaign advice and strategy from Kwesi Kwarteng. If Kwesi Kwarteng has any campaign strategy and advice to offer, he should give it to his candidate. We will not take any campaign strategy and advice from him. But ultimately, I agree with him when he says that the sovereignty of this election resides in the delegates, resides in those who are eligible to vote. Let us give that respect to them. Let us hold on with some of these utterances. If he believes that those who are the delegates are the ultimate decision makers, why is he then making the assertion that somebody has coerced another person to make any endorsement?
Okay, stay with me, Kwesi. I'll come back to you in the studio just to finalize on this. But let me bring in the Deputy General Secretary for the NPP, Haruna Mohammed. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. Subtle campaign already ongoing. What's the party's stance on this?
Very positive. And then good afternoon to your cherished viewers and my colleague and NPP members on the line for this particular discussion. First, before I move to the answer or to answer the question that you put forward, I want to correct certain comments that have been made. The National Council currently is not building it on the decision of the National Council.
You will have to position rightly because I seem to be losing you, Mr. Haruna. I want to hear you clearly.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear now. Loud and clear now.
I said that before I will answer your question.
Okay.
I want to put certain issues in a proper perspective.
Okay.
The National Council did not seek to roof a structure. The National Council is seized and clothed with the power to take decisions on matters of presidential primaries. And I tell you, the structure of the party does not include the performance or conduct of presidential primaries. The structure of the party is stipulated in Article 5 of the party's constitution, where we have the polling station, we have the electoral area, we have the constituency, we have the region, external and national office. So this is the structure. The election of the flag bearer or the presidential candidate is a stand-alone election. So nobody should miss this particular instance. The party can do this at any point in time, and that is what the party has taken. In any situation that the party would want to conduct election, any of the structures of the party will appropriately use the appropriate law to issue a statement for members and interested parties to take cue and take decisions to participate. Having said so, what is currently happening is something that is very unfortunate. It is not in the best of his life that we are seeing all these matters going on. At the National Council, we did discuss and look at the situation when we were deciding on the presidential primary date. We do know that people's interest will come up, people's hope will come out, people's aspirations will come up. It is the National Party that we are looking at all these particular things that are happening. And at the national level and party leadership level, consideration is being given and looking at some of these particular scenarios, and in due time, the party will issue a statement regarding to some of this matter. Behind the stage, we are also making some certain calls to realign and let the people know that the party's position and the party's code of conduct is still in practice. And it's very unfortunate that we are seeing senior members of the party engaging in such circumstances, making the work very difficult for party leadership to take certain decisions in this particular matter. But however it is, if the time is due for us to crack the whip, because we don't want to run in quickly to crack the whip, but we are taking notice and making other engagement through other council of elders and what have you. And at the appropriate time, Faustina, I tell you on authority that the party will definitely will have to crack the whip. Notwithstanding that, the party will be opening the nominations by next month, and I believe that some of these particular things will also be kept when nominations are open.
But if the party cracks the whip, I'd like to come in at this point in time. If the party cracks the whip, what it means that key contenders may be affected, and then what do you make of concerns that it appears the party wants to rubber stamp Bawumia as the de facto candidate? First of all, you give him a head start by enabling him to lead the party's thank you tour, and then you push the flag bearership race closer, making it difficult for other candidates to keep up.
Firstly, I can tell you on authority, our party, the leadership of our party, is not and would not and never will make Dr. Bawumia as a rubber stamp to any person. Again, let's put this record in its right place. President and former Vice President Bawumia was not made to lead a thank you tour. It has been the norm, and history has always defined how thank you tours have been done. This is the first time that thank you tour has been done together with the National Party. It has always been done by presidential candidates who have run elections in that particular election year. And that is why when you look at parliamentary candidates, they have always gone to do their thank you tour, whether there is the constituency party or not, they go ahead and do their thank you tour. In this particular instance, a decision was taken at the National Council to do that together so that at least in the material movement that we are able to build bridges and enforce that unity comes within the party. So this is the first time it's been done. It was not done to an advantage of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. It was done on the course of a decision of the National Council of the party. Again, every leadership or every corporate institution where you are as a leader, you will definitely be accused. They are all our children. They are all our senior party people. They are all governed by rules of the party. So it will be very difficult for you to be able to be governing and having different shares of opinion when we live in a democracy, for you to say that nobody will accuse you. It is fine to accuse us, but it is better for us to show that sense of us making sure that we are fair. Because I have said it, and I'll repeat it, that in every dispensation as a leader, your neutrality, once you have a vote, cannot be trusted, because you cannot be neutral when you have a vote. But you must stand firm to be fair to everybody. And that is why we say that we have done a presidential primaries before, as these leaders, these current leaders have done presidential primaries before, and all of them have been offered the opportunity. Everybody can recollect what had happened within the presidential election. And again, the decision to get to where we are also involved the consultation of the existing persons who are interested in the contest of the election. And I can tell you that in all the stages, in Professor Michael Quay, all of them were consulted. In the constitutional amendment, all of them were consulted. And that is why my good brother, Kwesi Kwarteng, will tell you that they are prepared, either today, tomorrow, or any other day. Because I know how these political persons are so prepared for this particular exercise. This exercise is going to de-escalate the acrimony and animosity that existed for the period of the 6 months. This particular exercise is going to ensure that a lead is being chosen so that at least we can use it to fight the political persecutions and prosecutions in the media space. So we are very careful when we are making such decisions. And I want to say that every aspirant is going to be given a level playing field, and nobody, I repeat, nobody is going to be favored by the decisions of the party.
You say you cracked the whip. What kind of sanctions should we expect? And in what form will it take?
Sanctions goes with what has been broken. So until
based on the Constitution, what is the sanction for campaigning even before the party has officially opened the floor for that to happen?
Yes, when rules are broken, it takes a collective decision to announce the punitive measures that has been established. And when that is done, you would hear me speak on behalf of the party on the punitive measures that have been issued.
But doesn't the Constitution spell it out?
And establish a punitive measure against an individual or a group of people when that is not fully established by the proper structure of the party.
But I'm sure the party constitution already spells some of these things out, doesn't it?
We have rules and regulations, which forms part of a constitutional provision in Article 18, which gives us to form rules and regulations. And when rules are broken and you want to find somebody guilty of such crime, there is a procedure. That procedure has to be used for it to be communicated, for me to respond and defend the position as established in Article 3 of our party's constitution, to publicly defend the decisions of the party. So it doesn't lie in my mouth to say that this is the rule. Once the person has gone against it, and then we want to punish the person, and the person hasn't gone through the right procedure, I should publicly say so that the person will not be given a fair hearing. I have to make sure that I should be making reference, because I speak for the party, I should be making reference to point of record and not point of public opinion.
Thank you, Haruna. Just sharing your thoughts with us. He's Deputy General Secretary for the NPP. I'd like to wrap up with Kwesi Kwarteng. Just your final thoughts. Every statement being made by Haruna Mohammed. I'll get your quick reaction that your candidate may be facing sanctions.
Well, I didn't hear that. I think he spoke in general. And I'm not sure my candidate has committed any offense to face any sanctions. Okay. If the sanctions are in respect of campaigning ahead of the clearly defined guidelines and date or time for campaign, then I'm sure you should have even taken a retrospective effect, or should have even started earlier, because we all know who started campaigning, even through the thank you talk, when he blamed former President Akufo-Addo for intentionally even increasing fuel just to cause his defeat and other things. I mean, these comments that we made, I didn't hear any comment from them. So okay. I'm not sure they are directly speaking to the Honorable Kennedy Japon. I'm sure it's a general portion that he's throwing to party people.
What should we expect next, though, from your camp?
Well, I mean, but before that, respectfully, if I'm allowed to quickly address some few issues that question was ordinarily okay. But I just want to put in a certain context. Okay. That first of all, we are ready for unity and peace. But the Team Ken camp will not also show weakness. And if it is right, we say it is right. If it is wrong, we say it is wrong. I think that even that history and precedent, where just last week, even in the face of the evidence, where we had about just 26 MPs, they told us that they had two of them, which was even corroborated and repeated by Dr. Bawumia himself. I mean, clearly, we cannot also ask them on this. So I insist and I maintain that this is a rehearsed, choreographed, sponsored, and staged endorsement. I bet to differ whether these are the main executives of the Association of Former MMDCEs. So I mean, clearly, you were all in a room. You see, let's even apply a common sense approach. They had met Dr. Bawumia in a room with cameras and media. That endorsement or declaration was not made at the instance and presence of all the 220. Only for them to all move out, left with about 20 of them, for them to make an endorsement and then make it as though, give an impression as though it represents the 220. If indeed it was any, why didn't they make the third endorsement when all of them were present? So I mean, we should give us a break. Some of these rehearsed and stuff, I mean, it was the same thing that caused us very massively in our last election. But of course, this is no disrespect to the MMDCs. The fact that I say it's sponsored does not necessarily mean that you give them money. And even if you give them money, I don't think it's so much of a new thing. Who doesn't know that our body politicking, when people come and visit you ordinarily, you give them transport and other things. I don't think that is a sign of disrespect. So his attempt to preach me against the former MMDC is very untenable and will not suffice. But bottom line is that in the future, we may not be responding to some of these choreographed endorsements. If they are speaking of endorsement, they should also be able to speak about the breakaways that has also, the massive breakaways that has also hit their camp. All what they are trying to do and seeking to do is just to compensate for the huge breakaways. If indeed, you may be able to, indeed, let's even admit without even accepting that it is true, that indeed you have 220 MMDCs supporting you. For example, alone is taking the whole Eastern region from you. How do you also mitigate that? So let's wait. I'm sure at the end of the day, the time will tell, and we'll be able to know whether some of these endorsements were indeed genuine or were coerced, rehearsed, as we witnessed in the last elections. That pushed us to the worst defeat ever. This time around, we will resist it.
Thank you so much, Kwesi Kwarteng. He is a member of Team Ken's spokesperson team. Let me just come in the studio. I just get Kwesi Boche's reaction to some of these concerns he has raised. He says that you are attempting to pitch him against the MMDCs.
Thank you very much.
Is that what you're trying to do?
No, but I mean, clearly from what Kwesi Kwarteng says that the MMDC's endorsement or press conferences rehearsed, I feel that is very unfortunate, and I have made that point. But you see, Kwesi Kwarteng is being very disingenuous here by stating that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia accused President Akufo-Addo of certain things during his thank you tour. This is entirely false. At no point has Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia accused the former President Akufo-Addo of any wrongdoing. In fact, today at the meeting, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia really stated and re-echoed and reiterated that posterity will be very kind to President Akufo-Addo, and even thanked President Akufo-Addo in the presence of all these former MMDCs for giving him the opportunity to serve as his vice presidential candidate since 2008 and as his vice president since 2017. And so it is very disingenuous and in whole humility and with the greatest of respect to my brother Kwesi Kwarteng, very reckless for him to make the claim that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has accused President Akufo-Addo for certain wrongdoings. Again, Kwesi Kwarteng makes the unfounded claim that because the likes of the Honorable Brian Champon, who was a minister in the SPL administration, has decided to contest, and therefore it means that all persons that were affiliated to the former administration, are against the candidature of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. In the previous presidential primaries in 2023, the then Deputy Finance Minister, Madam Abna Osei Asare, openly campaigned against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Yes, the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia won with our 71 point something percent. There are so many ministers of state and deputy ministers of state and appointees of the SWAL administration that campaigned against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in that very primaries. But he later came out victorious. And so for Kwesi Kwarteng to make the claim that because Dr. Brian Echampo and Dr. Educhum are contesting Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, then it means Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is unpopular. In any case, in the NPP primary of 2009, I am sure, Joe Gatti, who is a protege, the respected Honorable Joe Gatti, who is a protege of candidate Akufo-Addo, he also contested in the elections. So many, in fact, Osafo Mafu, who later became the senior advisor to the president, and so many other persons contested against President Akufo-Addo. The fact that you contest against somebody doesn't mean you are against the ideologies of the person. It is basically a contest of ideas and a contest of who.
I want to get your thoughts on two things before we wrap up briefly. We've just heard from the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, serving notice that they are monitoring the space closely and they may be cracking the whip for individuals who are campaigning even before the party opened the floodgates for that. Your candidate may be implicated in this.
I do not agree. He is not campaigning. He is only projecting himself why he feels the delegates, going when the campaign, officially opens, the delegate should contest. In fact, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has not said anywhere that he'll be running for the presidential primaries. But we know persons who have clearly, in fact, Kwesi Kwarteng's candidate has clearly retreated.
So he's only meeting delegates, and the delegates are rallying the support behind him when he hasn't declared his candidature. Is that the case?
Let me even clear the falsehood again put out by Kwesi Kwarteng that this meeting was held in the full glare of your. Ken was at the meeting. Your representative was at the meeting. Ask him if the meeting was held in the full glare of the media. The meeting was never held in the full glare of the media. It was a closed door, intimate engagement between Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and
which the MMDCEs then held a press conference afterwards.
MMDCEs are liberty
to declare their support for your candidate, who, by the way, you tell us hasn't officially declared. As we wrap up, though.
MMDCEs, the former MMD, and in fact, let me put on record that not all former MMDCEs, participated in that presser. There were 220 MMDCEs. Okay. So far, we have about 267 MMDCEs, but only 220 MMDCEs. That is about 90% of the MMDCEs, participated in the press conference and endorsed Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and also, pledged their resources and undertook to activate their contacts and activate their, their supporters to campaign for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And so, what Kwesi Kwarteng has been saying is...
I'll come to you to find out how you plan to make your candidate marketable, because that's one of the greatest concerns raised by party members. Is he marketable? What's your plan? I'll come to you for that. But let me bring in, at this point, a political scientist just to get his thoughts on the internal happenings in the NPP. We appreciate his time. Political scientist joining us, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otri. He is a political scientist and a lecturer at UCC. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. I just want to get your thoughts. Looking at what is playing out in the NPP, especially with this internal race, putting the flag bearership race ahead of the election of national executives, how will this affect the fortunes of the party moving into the 2028 elections?
Well, firstly, let me say good evening. Just a point of correction. The name is Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otri, a political analyst, not a political scientist.
Okay.
So you can go ahead with your question.
Yes, please. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what this would mean for the party in the run-up to 2028 general elections, electing a flag bearer even before electing the national executives.
Well, that is an unfortunate decision on the part of NEC. Probably the exigencies of the time is making them take that decision. But if it is a matter of taking a decision now in to the benefit of a particular candidate, then obviously the NPP has not learned any lessons or internal lessons, so to speak. Because if you averted your mind to some of the snippets of the internal report that Professor Michael Quay chaired, Dr. Bawumia himself said something to the effect that, and among other reasons, that some of the pronouncements that some of their colleagues made during the internal primaries, contributed to their defeat because it is part of the report. And so if you look at the way the competition is heating up, and for the party to take a decision that will be from a top to the bottom approach, it is not only illogical, it is structurally deficient to take such a decision because, believe you me, the point ought to be made that the same set of people who voted for Dr. Bawumia will be in this category. And of course, you're going to use the old register because instead of organizing elections from the bottom up to the point where these stakeholders will take a decision to elect whoever becomes the flag bearer, you are maintaining the same set of people who voted for one particular candidate. And you are trying to tell me that obviously it is going to inure to the benefit of one person. I don't see a significant change that will occur just because there are others who might have died and they've not conducted any internal elections to replace them. And so structurally, you are creating a situation where one particular candidate will be, will have an advantage over the rest. That will not in any way bring unity within the party. But if you looked at what Mr. Kennedy Japon had prior to the 2024 elections against Dr. Bawumia, you cannot underestimate such a personality within the party. And so if you do not have his full support, even when you have won the elections, you are still going to struggle in the 2028 elections. There will still be people who will be sitting on the fence, looking on for you to go and get your own disgrace, as it were. Then when you come back, then you let your own message. Apart from that, individually, every candidate has its own deficiencies. And that in itself, will militate against whoever becomes the flag bearer of the party, especially Dr. Bawumia.
You say that this new structure is deficient and it will inure to the benefit of just one party. How do we ensure a level playing field for other individuals despite the odds being against them based on where you sit?
First, come again.
I'm hoping you can hear me loud and clear now. You say that this new proposal by the NEC of the NPP is structurally deficient. And I'm wondering, how does other candidates ensure that they also level the playing field?
Well, it will be difficult, but internal politics, you need to spend a lot of money. It comes along with a lot of resources. You have to be very resourceful, and you have to come out with a superior argument and a message. I am one person who is of the view that Mr. Kennedy Japon's message against Dr. Bawumia before the 2024 elections was far superior than that of Dr. Bawumia. And so maybe messaging is important, but as to whether messaging is all in all in an internal elections, well, it appears not to be the case. Messaging is important. Being a grassroots person is important. Having resources is equally important. And then, of course, those who are supposed to finance you or contribute to their resources, to your candidature, equally important. And the point also ought to be made that you must have a certain number of the elite and the grassroots behind you. Other than that, I don't see how it is going to be that easier. Then there is something else that may be intangible or invisible, so to speak. You see, you may be very popular within the party, but without the party, you are not popular. Or people may have good reason to vote for you because of the things you have been doing for the party within the party itself. But what about outside the party? Some of the delegates may think that, yes, Kennedy Japon is a solid candidate, but they are equally concerned about what will happen outside the party. Will Ghanaians easily vote for such a candidate? especially when we are talking about the two main parties not having the numbers to win outright elections. You always need neutrals, you need independent people, you need the floating voters, you need non-aligned. Now, these four demographics, that your candidate have the wherewithal to attract them. If they don't, the delegate will think along that path. And in as much as you may be equally solid, they don't want to vote for it because you don't foresee your chances, against their main opponent, that is the NDC.
Okay.
And it also ought to be said that when it comes to the NDC, in relation to all of this, they are also concerned because they have a transition to engage. While the transition is properly done, and the economy that they are running now is void of scandal, then obviously the only thing that they have to do is to elect someone who is credible. And that person comes. And it will be very difficult for the NPP candidate to win against the NDC. Because the goodwill of the exiting president, will inure to the benefit of whoever the NDC will elect.
Okay. Just my final question to you before I let you go. We've been hearing from the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, Haruna Mohammed, serve notice that they are monitoring the grounds and they may be sanctioning individuals or camps who are campaigning even before the party officially opens the grounds for campaigns. And if they do so, some of their forerunners may be affected. Dr. Bawumia and Ken, for example, may be affected by this. What's your final thoughts on how the party should proceed with sanctions moving forward?
Well, it is good is putting out in the public domain of possible sanctions against deviants, against those who go against the rules of engagement. We don't even know the rules of engagement because these things have not been applied. But to even do a top-bottom approach of elections, it will undermine the authority. It will undermine the authority of those who are the helm of affairs now. Because in no time, until the re-elected or boosted up, they will just be white elephant. Because whoever wins, if it is Dr. Bawumia, everybody else will like the truth. Because every now and then, everybody will want to say that, well, I am aligned to Dr. Bawumia. Dr. Bawumia himself those who is supporting it for him. And what happens? He himself to ensure that those who win don't lie because it is its own interest. That is why that the top bottom up is very good. You see, so they may come out some of these sanctions alongside, but that's what I expect.
Okay.
But just that people will have to prove it. And then, of course, they have to measure the kinds of strategy because the reporter, if it does that they say a lot of time, created problems.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan. He is a political analyst. Let me wrap up with Haruna Mohammed, his Deputy General Secretary for the NPP. We've just been listening to that blunt verdict from Dr. Jonathan. He says that the party's decision to actually organize a flag bearership race before the election of the national executives is structurally deficient. How do you respond to this?
Unfortunately, I don't know the variables in which he's using to come to this conclusion, because in every statement, you would need to appreciate the variables in which the person is looking at. Define that to say, because maybe he's not a politician, he's not in our shoes, he might not be able to understand why we do those particular things. And I will not fault him for that. But what I want to know is that for me and where we stand, the decision that we have taken actually grounded very well. I told you that...
Haruna, I'm losing you. You may have to position rightly. Your connection is not that favorable for me, so I have...
Yes, I'm saying that
Beautiful.
I am not the part of the case or the variables which he has used to get to the conclusion that we have gotten. Not acceptable. And I am not surprised because he is not in our... He is not a politician, and he will not accurately understand why the decision. What I explained the first that I told since we got there, you have said the acrimony, the animosity, the negative tendency, we need to de-escalate them.
And for us to be able to do so, what has been the cause? And once he is in academia, he understands what we call the fishbone diagram. When you are to diagnose a problem, you need to identify the causal factors of such problems. And in using the fishbone diagram, it will tell you that the problem can come from the problem can come from the head. The problem can come from any part of the body. And in identifying them, it should be able to tell you the appropriate solution. What did we identify? The identification here is that people are massing up to become flag bearer of our party. The rallying point of all the animosity, the insult, the negative issues comes from the context of the flag bearership election. So the National Party in its wisdom and the Constitution, the Constitutional Amendment Committee in their advice, and also Professor Michael Quay's committee's advice, they recommended that we should be able to get this one off our way. Because if we are able to get it off our way, you would realize that people who would have been contesting from polling stations, people who would have been contesting from electoral area constituencies, and using the names of these persons who are yelling up to lead the party will stop. We will be able to de-escalate the effect on our party. So it is prudent enough for us to have taken such a decision to start the contest and ensure that a stand-alone election, which is the presidential primary, is able to cure this particular factor. You don't bring in an issue to cure nothing. You must be able to find a gap. And that is why we are filling that gap by de-escalating and ensuring that there is 2-3 years absolute time for us to heal and to be able to get a leader that will bring and be the rallying point for political persecution and prosecution within the media cycle, and be able to champion the message and the direct positions for us to be able to let the people of Ghana know that Ghana needs such a leader. So I think that we don't need to get everybody to agree, but it is left with us to be able to speak and let people understand the factors that are ongoing. But until you appreciate where we are or you put yourself in our shoes, you would always draw that particular conclusion that my good friend from the academia has drawn. And I want to assure you that the National Party took together certain variables, and as I've explained, and to be able to arrive at that particular conclusion. And I think that this decision is so far at this moment is the best.
Thank you, Haruna Mohammed. He is Deputy General Secretary for the NPP. I'm coming in studio to wrap up with Kwesi Boje. Your final words?
Quickly, you asked about the political marketability of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Indeed.
But I've said here already that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has been part of 5 consecutive elections since 2008 as a vice presidential candidate, in 2012 as a vice presidential candidate, in 2016 as a vice presidential candidate, in 2020 as a vice presidential candidate, again in 2024 as the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. And so he has the political, consistency. That is on his side. He has that value, and we must appreciate the value of political consistency. I have also told you that the late Professor Mills won in 2008 after he lost to President Kufuor in 2004. Again, candidate Kufuor won in 2016 after he lost to President Mills in 2008 and candidate John Mahama in 2012. And so the value of political consistency is very key. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has been part or at the front row of our politics or our presidential elections in the last 60 years, has taught this country over 25 times, close to 30 times. Every person in this country, every child in this country knows or has, in one way or the other, heard of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. From Axim to Zimbabwe, everybody knows Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Take all the other candidates. I am not sure any of them have even taught over 100 constituencies in this country. But Dr. Bawumia has done it consistently and has, proven to be a leader worth his salt. And so when it comes to the matters of political marketability in the context of this internal election, I do not think that, respectfully and humbly, any other person has that kind of exposure that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, have been able to gain in the last 16 years of our presidential elections. And as I learned quickly, to touch on what my respected Deputy General Secretary, Prof, said. You see, the decision by the National Council is not to favor any individual. If the decision was to favor any individual, in fact, at National Council, persons who are believed to be aligned to the respected Kennedy Japon or Brian Champo were also present at the meeting. But this decision was a unanimous decision. Not even a single person was able to object to the fact that the party should not hold an early presidential, primary. And so, it is unfounded for anybody to make the claim that the party, the National Council, which is the second highest decision-making body of the new patriotic party, have colluded to make any decision to favor a certain candidate, which is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Okay.
That cannot be true and that cannot be the case. Again, secondly,
1 minute.
As a land, secondly, we are all NPP members are worried about the rising tensions, rising acrimony, rising backbiting and bickering within the rank and file of our party. And therefore, it was incumbent upon our National Council to deploy strategies and measures to mitigate these rising acrimony and rising tensions. And that is why they brought out the solution that let us go for an early Congress so that I will not be sitting here to be discussing Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Kennedy Japon, Dr. Brian Champo, but we will not be sitting here to discuss the failures of this government, the failures of John Mahama, and this are the...
If I leave Kwesi, he'll go on and on. Thank you so much, Kwesi Boche. He speaks on behalf of Dr. Bawumia's campaign team. You're still watching The Pulse. We'll be back with more. Please stay tuned in.